I've released the cordyceps. Oh yeah. We've been growing cordyceps here at Den Hill Farm and Fungi, and I am Farmer Ben over the last few months here for the winter, and I kind of want to go over what I learned. So if you haven't seen the mushroom revival video on YouTube, I highly recommend it. It's the best source for semi-commercial production. I'm a market farmer, primarily growing stuff for retail. I adjusted the mushroom revival ratio down to 0.9 kilograms of the broth, and this could use more adjusting. And I think that's primarily because I'm doing bag production and the bags retain more moisture than doing the totes or Tupperwares. So you need to stir the broth every time before you measure it out for the bags. This enables the gypsum and other stuff to stay in solution while you're pouring it and dispensing it into each bag. I have not even done it long enough to kind of streamline this process, but I use the autoclave pot, and make sure that you line up the bottom layer of bags like I have with the vent pipe so that it doesn't catch through cooking. And then once you get 3 bags in there, you want to try to level them out so it's one even level for even cooking, like a rice cooker. Also, you fold up the bags, not like other pressure cooking bags. You just kind of want to loosely accordion them up. Try to have them end in the middle so that the water does not collect and pool into the bags. But you don't want them to self-seal. Just kind of want to fold them up. Then I use rings or other stuff to shove down into the sides of the pot to provide a spacer for a second layer to be built so that they're not directly smashing the bottom layer. This tutorial is going over doing a whole 75x batch at a time. I don't have much experience doing smaller things, and cooking is a little bit variable, so I'm still experimenting with that. We started doing a longer cook time, like the mushroom revival video, and a high pressure. And then I've started thinking about how people do these in pressure cookers, and Instapot rice cookers, and that cycle is going to be only like an hour. So I'm trying to find a sweet spot, but we've been doing about 2-hour batches. So the simple LC recipe is directly from Mushroom Revival. I like that a lot. It's easy. It seems like the cordyceps really like it, and I've been doing it for all of our liquid culture. So after the autoclave is cooked, I unload it through our double door closet, our autoclave double door, and put them under the flow hood. Then we have to smash up and break up all the rice. This part is a pain, and it kind of varies with how long you cook it. The more you cook it, the harder it is to smash. So that's where I'm trying to find that sweet spot in the autoclaving time. But once you have everything broken up, then you can administer the LC, and I'm still kind of working off the Mushroom Revival 500 milliliter ratio for that, and that seems to be working well. I've done a few with different things, and it seems like it's good enough to not mess with. Unfortunately, this jar does not have the markers for every 500 or 250 milliliters, so I'm kind of winging it there, but I've since marked the jar to try to make that a little easier. But just dispensing that and trying to stir it while I dispense it to evenly dispense. I've also been experimenting with different ages of the LC, and one thing that we've learned is for that first gen, you want to try to make as big of a batch as possible so that you can cut that into as many second gens as possible, because you want to limit that. So finally, sealing the bag is the most important part of bag production. And I essentially have been jessiping or folding the jessops in to kind of pinch in the top of the bag. And I don't think I have it in the video, but an important part of this is to kind of flatten the patty of rice in the bottom out, and that allows more air to be trapped in the bag when you're doing this fold. But if you fold the ends in and then roll it up and pinch it, you can then roll it over to be sealed without a bunch of air being lost. So I'm going to show that from one more angle, because this is definitely the most important part to give your bag headspace, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, fold those corners in to pretty much where the creases are, and then roll that sucker over for sealing. But the bags that didn't have good seals, I've gone back through and resealed them, or I've been experimenting with cutting holes and putting polypore tape to provide more airflow, because that's something I'd heard as a complaint with bag production, is there's not enough airflow. For the most part, I feel like all of my bags have done pretty well, and so kind of wondered about that. But always want to label and write any notes about specific ingredients that you've added, or anything important to note there, like cook time. And so then try to mix it without getting a ton stuck on the top of the bag. And then also trying to work the rice out of all the creases, especially at the bottom. And then finally, in placement of the bag, you want to just try to place it and like center all of the media into the middle of the bag, and then kind of smash it down and form that patty. I've heard not more than 2 inches high. I feel like with this recipe, it usually works out pretty well to cover the bottom but not be too much. And sometimes with that end area, you need to kind of crease the bag over and use the bag to hold it in place. And then finally, you want to cover and tarp the bag with a trash bag or some other way to keep it in the dark, especially if it's in your production facility, like this is in our lab where we have the lights. I'm covering it up. At one point, I was like moving them into a closet of darkness, but that seemed like quite a pain. So after 1 week of sitting covered, they usually are fully colonized and look good in white, and that indicates it's time to uncover the bag and get it ready for lighting. And finally, the lighting has been something that we're currently experimenting with also. I've heard things about the pink or purple light and blue light and white light. I've also heard a variety of things about the time of light exposure. We're kind of experimenting with all that. I will say that in our lab, we keep the lights on all the time, and that seems to be working the best, and just having 24-hour light. But there's still a lot to learn. But I just felt like there wasn't very much information out there regarding bag production and what I would say like mid-size commercial farming. So I wanted to share what I'd learned and my insights with that. Hope you enjoy.